interest of time, I think we can get started and participants can keep joining. So, hello and welcome everyone to our webinar on data test automation, intelligent and continuous testing to optimize your critical data. I am Roma Maheshwari, Head of Marketing at NHOPS, and going to be your host for today's webinar. I would like to welcome our speakers, Pulkesh Verma, CRO NHOPS, and Eric Smith, Director of Global Alliances, QuerySurge. In today's data-driven world, data is the most valuable asset for any organization. However, keeping up with the security and reliability of data can be an uphill task. This is where data test automation comes in to run the data testing process efficiently and smoothly. Our first speaker, Pulkesh Verma, brings with him intensive experience in IT services and consulting field spanning over 2 decades. He runs the sales and the growth marketing function at NHOPS. He has helped several organizations grow from the stage of startups to multi-million dollar success stories. Today, he is going to talk about NHOPS and our capabilities in data test automation areas. Next in line, we have Eric Smith, who is Director of Global Alliances for QuerySurge. Eric helps partners like NHOPS in their pre-sales and implementation initiatives with respect to QuerySurge, with the aim of maximizing customer success in automated data testing initiatives. Eric is going to demonstrate why and how QuerySurge is leading the way in intelligent and continuous data testing. I understand you guys have some questions at the end of the webinar. You can put them in the chat window. Our speakers are going to be in standby mode to answer any queries that you guys may have. So without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Pulkesh.
Thank you, Roma. Hi, everyone. Hey, Eric, good morning. So let me quickly share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, so a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone out there. Firstly, thank you so much for participating in this webinar. I'm sure this is going to be very informative, and then we appreciate your time. And thanks to you, Roma, and of course, your team for hosting this and for setting this up. And thank you, Eric, for the beautiful partnership and the journey that we have had with QuerySurge, and also for joining the discussions today. So in the interest of time, let me quickly get started. So I wanted to kind of give a quick kind of overview or introduction about NHOPS, like what we do, what we have been into. And most importantly, we wanted to talk about our data automation and data testing capabilities and how we have been adding value for our clients across the globe. And at the same time, I would also love to touch upon the partnership that we have with QuerySurge and how we have helped clients through the tool and through the expertise that we bring together as two different organizations, but as true partners to the table. So just to quickly introduce us as a company, we are called NHOPS, and we are a specialized QA organization where we call ourselves as an automation first and a smart testing organization. Automation first because 90% of the projects are in automation. Smart testing because we would be one of the very few companies in the independent testing space who would be utilizing artificial intelligence and machine learning for testing purpose. And most importantly, we have been having this smart testing solutions for our clients. And a classic example is QuerySurge, which comes with intelligent data automation capabilities. And these are the kind of solutions that we have been offering for our clients across the table, across different domains, across different continents. As a company, we have also embarked into AI-led testing. We have been doing a lot of work around using AI for test automation. For example, it could be as simple as auto healing, or it could be predictive analysis, or it could be defect tracking. We have been using AI and ML on all of that. As a company, our parent company is ProArc. ProArc is a technology company, and we are based out of Atlanta in the US. We have a couple of offices in the New York State, that's Rochester and Syracuse. We have an office in UK, London. We have one office in Singapore, and 3 offices out here in India. And as an organization, would be around 500 people strong, and out of 500, 170 people would be the automation experts. So I always say to the world that we are not a very big company, neither we are a very small company. I would say we are rightly sized company to be flexible for any kind of engagements, and every client is equally important for us. And at the same time, when it comes to the services, we are primarily into automation, into quality engineering, and that includes the traditional quality assurance, a lot of work around DevOps. And we have recently embarked into product engineering and data engineering, journey. So we have been building capabilities around product engineering and data engineering, and we'll get into more of the details as we go into the slides. And when it comes to our value adds, we do have these on-demand test labs, could be mobile labs, smart meter labs, performance engineering labs that we leverage, and we help clients improve their maturity level. So we have strong test processes, maturity experience in place, and most importantly, we have been successfully implementing a lot of test center of excellence across the world. And we, as a company, believe in quality, and then that's where we work on the outcome-based model. And our engagements are always being driven by KPIs and SLAs, that's key performance indicators and service level agreements. And again, when it comes to us as an organization, it's not only test center of excellence, but also we have been doing a lot of work around quality engineering 4.0. On the right-hand side, some of our sample clients, due to the NDAs, you cannot take all the names, but this particular clientele will give you an idea about the representative clients that we have. So almost 50% of our clients are the Fortune organizations that we have been working on, and 70% of our clients are based out of USA, and the rest of them are scattered across India, Singapore, Australia, and New Zealand. And when it comes to our offerings, we normally have 4 buckets of our offerings. So the first one is like test advisory and consulting. I might take a few more minutes just to walk you through what we do. So any enterprise clients, when they want to embark into digital transformation, it is very important that they have a mature QA process, and the maturity should be at a level of 3.0 at a scale of 1 to 5. So we normally help organizations to scale up in terms of this maturity level. So let's say the scale of 1 to 5, if someone is at level 2, we help them move on to level 3, level 4, and all of this happens as per CMMI and TMMI standards. So all of this is achieved by our high-end consulting and advisory assignments. And at the same time, we also have been doing a lot of work around quality modernization. We are very proud of a delivery team who has been successfully delivering a lot of work around digital QA. And when I say digital QA, I mean to say that we leverage AI for automation. And today we are talking about Dev Test Ops, which is nothing but continuous testing. And we achieve this continuous testing through test automation. We also have been doing a lot of work around IoT testing, especially for a couple of airports, one in India, one in USA, and that is across IoT platforms. And at the same time, we also have been doing a lot of work around digitization testing, robotics process automation, and mobile testing. When it comes to quality assurance, we have expertise across the different gamut of traditional QA. So for example, in performance testing, we actually call it performance engineering, because we not only tell what the problems are, but also how to fix the problems. In functional testing, we do a lot of work around shift left testing, requirements ambiguity. Automation is a bread and butter. We have different frameworks. We have expertise across different tools, QuerySurge being one among them. And most importantly, different clients will have different needs. So for example, one of the largest retailer in the US, they wanted to have one particular framework for web, mobile, and API. So we are working on BDD Cucumber framework. At the same time, one of the clients again in US in the healthcare space was looking into ETL automation, and we have been working on QuerySurge. So we have those solutions, and most of the frameworks are scriptless in nature, wherein we use simple English-like statements. And at the same time, we also have been having expertise around drag and drop and no-code, low-code automation. We do have a very strong cybersecurity practice in our parent company, ProArt, and at NHOPS, we have been doing a lot of work around static, testing, SAST, dynamic testing, VAPT. We follow OWASP methodologies, and we not only tell again what the problems are, but also how to fix the problems. And having said that, we do have expertise around ETL, web services, Salesforce, big data, and the different testing types. In DevOps, we have been working for end-to-end DevOps implementation. I'm not just talking about CI/CD, but implementation of tools like SonarQube, Kubernetes, doing containerization, and all of that. And most of the clients that we work with, when we kind of talk to them, we always tend to ask what would be the desired business outcome. Some CI would say that they're looking at defects of less than 1%. Someone would say that they're looking at 80% automation. Someone would say that they are wanting to set up a test center of excellence with matured QA processes. So we as a company believe that there are some attributes which supports those high quality applications. So if you look into the Gartner latest report, Gartner says that 40% of the defects that are found in the production could be found much earlier in the life cycle, and it could be as early as the requirements gathering phase. So we do a lot of work around requirements ambiguity testing. As an organization, we normally tend to ask our clients if they have QA handbook, test plan, test strategy, and surprisingly, not many of them would have all of this. So we help these clients having to have this test engineering strategy, having the documentation in place, having the processes in place, and all of them are governed by CMMI and TMMI standards. When it comes to the frameworks, as I was saying, we do have all the different frameworks in place. We are a tool agnostic company, but at the same time, we believe in giving the best of the solution, robust automation solutions, and recommend the best of the tools as per the industry best practices and the new technologies to our clients. So in terms of data testing, we normally have been using QuerySurge as a tool for a lot of engagements. And again, like there are a lot of other tools as well that we have expertise with. And we have been having partnerships with a lot of other technology companies. At the same time, we also recommend to our clients to get integration testing and UAT done. And we also have been doing a lot of work around shift left automation, where we actually do not have to wait for the manual testing. We can do the automation on the fly when the developer is developing his or her code. We have been implementing a tool called end-to-end unified automation framework. This tool has been recommended by all the leading analysts in the world, and of course, all the enterprises clients have been asking for this particular framework. So a lot of work is happening around in-sprint automation, and we also have been doing a lot of work around static code analysis, code reviews, and all of that. And when it comes to big data, right? So big data testing is, in a very simple term, it's validation of big data applications. So here we are talking about enormous volume of data. All of this data could be structured, unstructured. So big data testing is always governed by the 3 V's. That is volume, velocity, and variety. So keeping in mind the 3 V's, we have been doing a lot of work around big data source extraction testing, migration testing. When I say migration testing, it could be pre-migration testing, during the migration, and the post-migration testing. A lot of work around performance testing. And in big data performance testing, as I was saying, we normally pinpoint to the exact problematic areas so that we can go ahead and fix the issues. A lot of work is being done around analytics testing, security testing, and of course, consistency testing. Now, if you look at the industry best practice in terms of big data testing, there are 3 important factors. The first one is that we have to get the testing starting from the requirement stage. Secondly, the defects has to be fixed on priority. And thirdly, everything needs to be automated. So for all the 3 reasons, we have been working with Eric and his team. And of course, QuerySurge is the tool that is being highly recommended by us as a specialized QA organization. And we'd love to walk you through some of the capabilities and the value adds that the solution brings to the table. Now, at the same time, big data testing areas could be different, starting from variables all the way to cloud and infra, agile, managed service, quality engineering. So we have like a COE, a center of excellence around big data testing. And this includes ETL, data warehouse, and all of that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if you can just post them, we would love to walk you through some of the details. But having said that, I think I would request Eric to quickly, walk us through the solution that we have, and maybe like we can discuss more in detail about some of the use cases. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Roma. Thank you, Eric. Over to you.
Thank you, Bookesh, and thank you, Roma. I want to thank the entire NHOPS team for allowing me to present QuerySurge and talk a little bit about our product. So I'm going to share my screen just so you're able to see it. And I'm going to provide a high-level overview of what QuerySurge is, where it fits into the space, and then I'll show a short product demonstration to illustrate what QuerySurge can do. So the goal of QuerySurge is to improve data quality at speed. We now live in a data and analytics economy. It's been said that data is the new oil. So data is becoming critical to all facets of your customer's business. IBM says 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years, and 79% of organizations have more than 100 data sources according to IDC. So not only is there more data that organizations are consuming, but it's coming from different locations, which poses a lot of different challenges to the organization to make sure that their data quality is at a high level. Poor data quality now costs organizations an average of 14 million annually. These data issues a lot of time don't arise until someone is viewing a report where the data is incorrect and a bad decision is made. So it's very important to be able to catch these issues early as part of your data testing cycle. Data quality is a competitive advantage that data and analytics leaders need to improve upon continuously, according to Gartner. So organizations who invest in data quality are going to have a leg up on their competition. What we typically see in the industry today is there are a few different data validation methods that are being implemented. Sampling, which is mostly done with manual testing, minus queries, or homegrown frameworks. These validation methods all have pitfalls that can cause a lot of issues with data quality. Currently, we estimate around 90% of companies are usually at one of these three levels. But where companies want to get to is to be able to have a solution in place that is able to automate all of their data testing in their various pipelines and to make that part of their CI/CD delivery process. And although a lot of organizations would like to get here, many of them don't know the right process to do so. And that's where we rely on our partners like NHOPS, who have the skills and capabilities and knowledge to be able to get customers to these high levels of maturity for their data testing. And that's where our product comes in, QuerySurge, which will help customers dramatically improve their data quality at speed. So a little bit about our solution. Our business case is that executives make critical decisions based off of their BI and analytics, and they assume that the underlying data in these reports is accurate. But that's not always the case. As data traverses through their architecture, there's the possibility of a defect being introduced, and that can affect their data quality. The supported use cases for QuerySurge: data warehouse testing, data migration testing, any type of big data initiative, BI and analytics reports, enterprise apps or ERP systems, and all these different types of tests can be integrated as part of a DevOps and DataOps pipeline. The way QuerySurge works is we design a test called a query pair, and it has two endpoints, a source and target. And what QuerySurge will do at the time of execution is it will retrieve data from both source and target systems, pull that data into tabular result sets, and then do an analysis of the data and look for any type of issues, such as data that's incorrect, missing records, aggregates that may not be calculated correctly, or any other type of data issue you can think of. And then what QuerySurge will do is it will roll up that information into reports and analytics so customers get a good view of the health of their data. One of QuerySurge's strengths is it has the capability of testing across a wide variety of different data stores. Here's a sample list of some of the data technologies that we're able to connect to, but in almost all cases, there's a way to get QuerySurge to access that data and validate it as part of your testing process. Since we launched QuerySurge, we have over 180 customers in 30 different countries. These are just some of the customers who have chosen QuerySurge as their solution, but all these customers were dealing with the same challenges. How do we automate our data validation in an effective way? And they all chose QuerySurge as their solution. And here's a quote from one of our customers. QuerySurge has enabled both technical teams and business stakeholders to have confidence in the data that we're providing. With a large number of data sources involved, automated data testing is the key to efficiency. So in summary, QuerySurge will help increase your data validation coverage, continuously detect data issues in your pipeline, leverage analytics to optimize your critical data, improve your data quality at speed, and provide a significant ROI. So with that overview, I'd like now to give you a quick product demonstration. So QuerySurge is a web-based application. Users are going to access QuerySurge through their browser. When users first log in, they'll see a dashboard that's custom to them that they can configure and set up to showcase any information that is key for their day-to-day analysis. So I'm just going to drill into one of these reports quickly to give you an idea of the type of information that QuerySurge can showcase. This is what's called our scenario outcome data reliability widget. And what we're doing is we're tracking a specific set of tests called shipping. And this test is running periodically. And each time it runs, it's showing how many validations passed during these test executions, how many validations failed, and how accurate your data is. Typically, you'd want that data reliability to be in the high 90 percentile, but there's some intentional defects in our environment, so we can showcase what QuerySurge can do. But of course, the idea is if you're running these tests either daily or hourly, and all of a sudden you notice that that data reliability line dips down or the red bar shoots up, that's an indication that you may have some poor data quality in that last run of your jobs. These are all configurable, so you can track and manage different sets of tests. You'll see here the name of the tests we're looking to incorporate, or any scenarios that include the name shipping into that listing. So what I'm going to do now is take you away from the dashboard into the core area of QuerySurge, which is our design library. And this is where our query pair resides. Query pairs is our nomenclature for a test, so I may use that term interchangeably throughout the demo. You'll see it's a customized folder structure, which you can drill into and then see the individual query pairs. So each query pair here has a name, last time it's been modified, who did the change, and it also has a status icon indicating the last time this particular query pair ran, whether it was successful or whether it had any type of issues. What I'm going to do now is double click on one of these query pairs so we can see what it's comprised of. When I do that, you'll see it'll open up in a new tab. And what you'll see are there are two sides. There is a source side on the left and a target side on the right. Both source and target have a connection field. This is where you define what is your source and what is your target for this particular test. You'll see in this example, it's an Oracle sales database as my source and an Oracle data warehouse as my target. The connections are configured in the administration area, which has all the URL information, credentials, tokens, whatever it is needed to connect to those particular technologies. Most customer projects will have maybe 5 or 10 different connection types, but what you'll see is this is a demo environment. Over time, we've developed connections to all different types of technologies. So the important thing to note here is you can connect to any type of data store, whether it's a traditional database, whether it's a flat file, whether it's a streaming service like Kafka, whether it's a BI tool. In all cases, QuerySurge is able to establish a connection to those technologies. The other thing to note is, although in this example, both source and target tend to be Oracle technologies, it does not have to be the case. That just happens to be where the sample data lives, which I'm going to demonstrate. The connection could be a SQL Server database as my source, or to a Snowflake data warehouse as my target, or it could be a CSV file as my source and a Power BI report as my target. So it has the ability to test across data platforms. And then to retrieve data from these different platforms, we do it the same way in all cases where we issue a query. So a query that's going to retrieve data from the source and target systems, and will bring that data back for analysis. Now, if you've never done this before, or if you've been doing manual testing, you can import these queries into QuerySurge. We have an import feature, which will pull them from an Excel document. We have an API where you could script something to pull them in from maybe an external database, or you can build them on the fly with our query wizard. So I won't go through the wizard here for time purposes, but it's a UI interface, which allows you to essentially select the tables and columns, and it will develop the queries for you. But once you have these queries developed, then they're ready to be executed. And the execution results will look something like this. It will show you whether the test was successful or not. You'll see this particular test failed. It'll show you how many records were retrieved from both your source and your target systems. You'll see those numbers match exactly. So we have a 0 row count difference between the two environments. But the reason for this failure is we had 7 records out of the roughly 6,500 tested that had some type of data mismatch between the source and the target data sets. We'll investigate those a little deeper in a moment. Below that, you'll see QuerySurge collects performance metrics. So how long did it take QuerySurge to retrieve the data from both source and target systems? How long did it take QuerySurge to do the analysis, which is the comparison of the data? And then how long did it take the query pair to execute in its entirety? And you could see to test these roughly 6,500 records, it took QuerySurge about 3 seconds to do that validation. So what I'm going to do now is click this View Query Results button, and that will allow us to investigate the details of the failure in a little bit more detail. So if I open up that modal window, you'll see there's a couple different tabs. The first tab is the source. This is showing me all the source records that were retrieved from our source query. All 6,500 records are here. Likewise, we can click on the target tab, and that will show us all the data from our target system. These can be filtered, these can be sorted. So you have a lot of different options to kind of pinpoint specific data that you may be interested in. But most importantly, we typically investigate the failures. So if you remember from the previous screen, we said that there were 7 records that didn't align properly between source and target systems. So these are the 7 records on the source side that did not match up properly with the 7 records on the target side. And that's indicated by this red flag. And if you scroll through the data set, what you'll see is QuerySurge will highlight those specific differences. So you can see exactly which values failed between your source and target systems. Now, typically you might need to pass this information along to the development team. So QuerySurge has a lot of different export options. You can export this data out in Excel, CSV, or XML. There's also an export all button. And what that will do is take each one of these tabs and put them into a separate sheet inside of an Excel workbook. So this is one type of failure that QuerySurge can capture, which is a data failure. The other type of issue that is captured is a non-matching record. So that would be a record either on the source or target side that doesn't have a match on its counterpart. So just to show you a quick example of what that would look like, I'm going to open up a different query pair and look at the results. You'll see this query pair has 4,972 records in our source system, 4,976 records in our target system. So there's a 4 row count difference. And in this case, all the extra rows happen to be in the target data set. So if we want to see those rows, we can click those View Query Results, go to the Failures tab. And what you'll see is it'll show you the 4 extra rows on the target side that don't have a match on the source side. And that's indicated by these yellow flags. Could have been that this data was duplicated. Maybe they were records that were not supposed to make it into the target system, whatever the case may be. So once you're able to develop these various types of tests, the next phase is to then schedule them for execution. So QuerySurge has a scheduling apparatus. And in the scheduling section, you'll see that we have a concept of a test suite. A test suite is simply a collection of query pairs that you want to execute together to perform a testing goal. So you can see this demo ETL suite that I currently have highlighted has 9 query pairs in it. So every time this suite runs, these 9 tests will execute. And if you look into the query pair library, if I need to make adjustments to this suite, you'll see it's as easy as simply dragging new queries into the suite, and that new item will be listed there. You can also drag entire folders if needed. And if you want to exclude a few tests from execution, you can do that as well. If you need to save your changes, you can click save. I don't want to save them, so I'm just going to discard those. So let's say, for instance, I have a suite called shipping. So I'm going to use my search functionality to find that suite in the list. You'll see it's comprised of 5 different query pairs. So if I need to execute this suite, I can do it a few different ways. I can execute it on demand, where I can say just run now. It'll timestamp the scenario and execute those 5 tests. I can schedule it within QuerySurge. We have one-time execution or recurring schedules. So perhaps you need to run this daily, a few days a week, or maybe you just need to run it once a week. You can go ahead and specify the day of the week, the time, when do you want these to start running, and what's the duration that you want these to run for. But let's say I just wanted to do a one-time execution. One thing I wanted to point out is you have the ability not only to run that shipping suite that I want to execute, but I can include multiple suites as part of my scenario. So I can include as many suites as I want. QuerySurge also has a concept of agents. I only have one agent in this case, but multiple agents will allow you to run these suites in parallel. So the more agents you have, the more parallel testing you can do. And the third way we typically see customers execute their tests is event-based driven execution. So to demonstrate that, I have a Jenkins project set up, which has a simple data pipeline. And what this pipeline is going to do is it's going to execute an ETL job, which is going to move data from a source system to a target system. And then once that job is complete, the second stage of the pipeline is to request QuerySurge to run tests to validate that job utilizing the QuerySurge API. So you'll see the ETL job has completed. It is now in the second phase of the pipeline where it's making the request to QuerySurge in order to execute the tests that are associated with it. And you'll see it's polling QuerySurge to get its status. And at a certain point, the test will start running. And you can see active tests in our run dashboard. So the run dashboard, anything that's active will be indicated by the orange gear in the left side. You'll see we're running the shipping suite, which has those 5 queries in it. And then you'll see it's giving us the active status of where those queries are during their execution over time, and then the summary metrics as far as what tests passed and which tests failed. So you can see we had 4 tests fail and only 1 pass. And just like before, you can drill in and see the individual failures for anything that occurred. We also get automatic email notifications that will pop up for those executions where we can drill into a specific email and we can see how many validations were done, how many tests passed, how many verifications were executed. So we just did 165,000 verifications. We had 33,000 failures for a data reliability score of 80%. So even though only 1 in 5 tests passed, we had an 80% data accuracy result. So those are both good numbers to have. And then below that, what you'll see is there is a list of the suites as well as the individual query pairs. And there's summary metrics of how many records were tested, how many records had failures. And we have the capability of drilling into these results, and it will take you directly to the scenario that just ran. And then to summarize, we have a bunch of reporting that's available in QuerySurge. So a bunch of reports right out of the box. We have scenario detail reports, which will have information very similar to what you saw in the email. But these reports have the capability of being saved as PDFs. The tabular data can be exported into Excel format. And one of the strengths of QuerySurge, not only its ability to validate large amounts of data, but it also archives all of these results. So you can run comparison reports against previous runs. We have root cause analysis reports that go into a lot of detail as far as which values have null fields, which columns tend to have the most failures, which tables are having the most failures, a lot of good information for developers to try to track down any issues that they may have in their ETL processes. And if you want to build your own custom reports, QuerySurge has a pretty robust API, which enables you to pull data out of your systems, out of QuerySurge's system to incorporate into any type of BI tool that you may have. So due to time, I'm going to kind of wrap things up there. Obviously, QuerySurge has a lot of features and a lot of different enhancements that can help with the data testing, but I wanted to give the basic walkthrough of test design, test execution, and reporting. And one of the important things to note is it's going to take someone who understands data testing and the skills needed to implement a solution like QuerySurge. And that's where we really rely on our partners like nHops to bring in that skill set to be able to deliver the results that customers are looking for around their data testing. So with that, I think I will stop presenting, and I think we can probably open it up for some questions.
Thank you, Eric, and thank you, Pulkesh, for giving us idea about data test automation and a quick rundown of QuerySurge tool. We have few questions on the chat window. One of them is, hello, I'm from Infosys. Do we get any trial access to QuerySurge? I think you might want to take it up, Eric.
Sure, I'll take that. Anyone has the ability to trial QuerySurge. If you go to QuerySurge.com, which is our homepage, up at the upper right-hand corner, you'll see there's a try it free button. There's a few different options. There is a cloud trial where you give access for 3 days. No installation needed. You just are provided a URL link and you're able to log in and explore QuerySurge, go through our tutorial with our sample data. If you'd like to use QuerySurge on your own data, we have a trial installer. You're able to download QuerySurge and install it, and that will come with a 15-day trial license, allowing you to test it out. And if you have a specific engagement where you need a little bit more time, we also provide a proof of concept license, which is a little bit longer, that will help you in your evaluation.
There are two more questions, Eric, for you. One is from Nagaraju Asmani. Is there any limit in the size of the data that QuerySurge can test?
So the short answer is no, there's no limit. QuerySurge can test any amount of data. We have customers testing data in the billions of records. The important thing to note, though, is that if you are going to be testing large data sets, you have to make sure that QuerySurge is deployed on architecture that can handle that amount of data. So for instance, if you have, if you're trying to test 10 terabytes of data, you can't deploy QuerySurge on a server that has a 100 gig hard drive. So you just need to make sure that the infrastructure is large enough and to handle the specific data that you're looking to test.
Another question from Neha Tyagi. Can QuerySurge test files?
So the answer is yes. QuerySurge has a flat file driver, which enables it to test a wide variety of different files. We have customers testing CSVs, XMLs, JSONs, Excel documents, Parquet files, all different types. And those files can exist locally, or they can also reside in cloud platforms like S3 buckets or Azure Blob Storage. So depending on where the file resides and what type of information it is, there's different approaches, but QuerySurge does have the capability of doing file validation.
So these were some of the questions on our chat window. I would like to thank you everyone for joining this webinar on data test automation. I would like to extend my special thanks to both Pulkesh and Eric for sharing their insights with us. I would also like to thank our audience to keep our chat window active and making this webinar more engaging and interactive. We hope you find this content information. If you need more information about nHops capabilities or anything about QuerySurge, you can reach out to given below email IDs, or you can reach out to our team on our social media accounts too. I think there are two more questions. Okay, Eric, I think you want to take this up. Does QuerySurge have the capacity to transform extracted data based on specific business requirements? For example, eliminate empty rows, merge columns, etc.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes. QuerySurge can test business rules and you can incorporate business logic. Right now, the process to do so is any of the transformation logic that needs to be incorporated in the test needs to be done in the SQL that is part of that specific query pair. For currently in the tool, there's no way to generate that SQL automatically. Essentially, you would have to code the SQL in order to run it. However, we are working on a few different things that we're hoping to announce sometime later this year, where we're looking to incorporate some AI capabilities, which will be able to take various business rules and requirements and be able to automatically generate the SQL needed. So although that's not in the product currently, you can expect some announcements from us in the short term, where we will be looking to take QuerySurge in that direction.
Thank you, Eric. One more question is, looks like a lot of work goes in creating and maintenance on the test situations. Are there tools to help us with this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned during the webinar, one of the things we have is a query wizard. The query wizard allows you to quickly develop and design those tests. So that will definitely help in your test creation. From a maintenance standpoint, one of the things we have customers doing is they're taking advantage of our API so that you can, if let's say a new table is added or a new column is added to a table, you can use that information from maybe your modeling software and be able to make an API request to QuerySurge to automatically update the queries that are using that table or that need, or create new queries that maybe need to utilize the new column that's part of that. So using those types of capabilities allow you to cut down on some of the manual maintenance that may need to be typically done when you're doing data testing projects.
Thank you, Eric. And thank you, everyone. Okay, we have one more question coming up. Can QuerySurge test data that resides in cloud architecture?
So yes, it can. The only requirement is wherever QuerySurge is deployed, there needs to be network connectivity between QuerySurge and the data set. So for instance, customers who are doing all their work in, let's say, AWS, most of those customers will deploy QuerySurge in AWS as well, so it has easy access. But in many cases, we have hybrid environments where some of the data might be on-prem, some of the data might be in cloud, and QuerySurge can be deployed in either, but as long as it has network connectivity between the environments, then QuerySurge can test it. And just to kind of circle back to one of the other questions, yes, test design can be complicated. Upkeeping and maintaining and coming up with good systems in order to do that can be a significant effort. But that's one of the reasons that we look to our partners like NHOPS, because they have the skills and expertise and have done this on various projects. So they can put in what's needed in place to be able to reduce the amount of work, reduce the amount of maintenance, not only on the test designing phase, but on the execution, the reporting, and the maintenance that goes with it.
Thank you, Eric, for answering those questions. Before we sign off, we have a small video from our CSR arm that I would like to play for all of you. It's just a humble reminder to keep giving back to society in whatever ways we can. So it'll just take a minute for us to go through that video.
As Roma is trying to play the video, I was just wondering if there are any other questions that you'd want either Eric or myself to answer. Okay, great. So in case you have any questions or you need any help or any details that you may want, please do reach out to us and then we'll be more than happy to help.
Okay. Okay, I'll need a minute.
While we're waiting, I just want to thank the entire NHOPS team for giving me the opportunity to present QuerySurge. They're a valued partner of ours, and we're always willing to participate in these type of events. We think it's good for customers to be able to see what the product can do and what services can be provided around the product to make it successful. Because for any good implementation, the product alone can't do it. A good product is a good step, but you need the skill set around a product to be able to implement it and get the most out of it. So I just want to thank the entire NHOPS team again for the opportunity to showcase QuerySurge.
You're welcome, Eric. And thank you so much to you and then, of course, your entire team for all the support. And I just wanted to add to Eric, like for any of the audience, like in case you'd want us to help you with any proof of concept around QuerySurge as a tool, please do reach out to us. So we normally do a lot of proof of concepts to help clients take decisions, to narrow down or shortlist the best tool that we think meets all the requirements, and we'll be more than happy to do the POC. So if there's anything, please feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, guys, I'm so sorry, but for some reason, I'm just not able to share my screen. I would like to give the message orally that we run a CSR arm called Yashoda Foundation. They are very active on social media. They do a lot of community learning initiatives where they try to educate underprivileged children and underprivileged youth and try to give them education that is at par with our modern society. So in case you guys are looking to reach out to them or contribute in some way, you can reach out to NHOPS team or Yashoda Foundation on LinkedIn, and they would be happy to help. One final thing before we sign off, that the recording of this webinar will be available on our website and social media channels, and we encourage you to share the same with your network, friends, and connections. Once again, thank you for everyone in participating in this webinar, and we will love to see you in future webinars too. Thank you.